Hey everyone, Brian with WorkshopAddict. Today let's take a look at DeWALT's 20 volt max cordless sliding compound miter saw. This is a 7 1/4 inch blade with a 5/8 inch arbor. It has 3,750 RPM and it's made as a professional saw. It will miter to 48 degrees, both right and left, and it will also bevel up to 48 degrees. Now at a 45 degree cut, with miter, you can cut 2x6 lumber, 90 degree, you can cut 2x8 lumber, and if you bevel all the way to 45 degrees, you can still cut 1.5 inch lumber. If you're looking at this to use as a trim saw, you can put in up to 3 5/8 inch trim standing up vertically in the back and cut it no problem. In fact, DeWALT says if you put in 3 1/4 inch pine base molding, you can get up to 275 cuts with this saw. Now that's pretty impressive considering DeWALT sent this with a 4 amp hour battery. And I like that because it's a little bit of some confidence coming from DeWALT. They do have larger battery packs. We started using this saw and we were making some flooring, so we were cutting 2x6 treated lumber. We started making walls, so we started cutting more 2x6s, and we started to do some trusses and other items with it that were 2x4s and 2x6s. And then we started to move on and say, okay, there are 3 things with this saw that we really want to prove. 1, does it have the runtime to work in the field for somebody who can use this as a professional job site? 2, does it have the power to continue to cut not only the framing lumber that we were using, but also some of the more hard lumber? So can this be used as a replacement miter saw for somebody so they don't even need a corded one? And 3, is it light enough and easy enough to carry around? Well, starting with number 3, we took this multiple places to cut lots of different wood, and we tried to use it in different areas that maybe would be a little more difficult with the corded saw, simply just because you had to drag a cord to it. But it's 32 pounds, it's easy to carry around, stores nicely. We put it on a miter base or a miter saw stand, and we found that the actual miter saw stand is almost double the weight of the saw. So we can use it in multiple different areas. It's no doubt, it's easy to carry around, it's easy to store. I give them an awesome rating for them putting this together and making it in a nice package that's easy to carry, well thought out. Now, when it comes to power, we found that not only was it working excellent on normal framing lumber or treated lumber, we also started out saying, okay, let's go through some thicker oak. All right, no issue with the oak. We moved on to some hickory, and we were doing 8/4 hickory, and then we moved on to some purple heart, which is even harder to go through than that. So the saw cut perfectly through all of it. And while we had to go a little bit slower, it worked out great. We let the blade do the job and everything was wonderful. So if you're going to use this as a replacement saw, I think it's very possible. Now moving on to the job site, and can it perform well? Well, we built a 7x7 barn, and basically start to finish, we used this for everything that we needed a miter saw for. And we didn't have a circular saw out at all. We basically just said, hey, this is it. We had no problem getting through the full barn build with this saw alone, and we still had battery charge left at the end of the day. Basically, with that barn build, with the hardwood cuts, and with some other composite cuts, we still made it through and still were on 1 battery pack. Now we continued to make some cuts and found that once the battery does go dead, there are LED lights up in the guard here that actually create a shadow when you're on the inside for the cut line rather than a laser. But those LED lights will start to blink. So once they blink, it means the battery's dead and you can move on, put it, charge the battery or put a new one in. I think no problem on a job site. Worst case scenario, you'd go through 2 batteries in a day, but I think most cases you'd probably be able to run through 1 battery, depending how often this is getting used. We didn't go through and do a cut test on it just to, time after time cutting, because that's really not how it's going to be used in the real world. And our test of just seeing how long it will go, constantly cutting 2x-dimensional lumber, was just awesome. We had well over probably 140 cuts on this saw with 2x6 lumber. and it just kept going. The few things that stand out to me on the saw is its accuracy. It's very easy to move the miter angle, and it's also easy to move the bevel angle. The miter angle has a lot of detents in there, so if you want to get very quickly to some of the popular cuts, it's very, very simple just to move it over, let the detent grab it, and everything is adjustable. So if your detent you find is not exactly where you want it to be, you can adjust the detent stop. So the accuracy on this was designed very, very well. Same with the bevel angle. If you find that your bevel is not perfect at the positive stop at 0 or at 45, you can adjust both, and you can even adjust it so it'll go farther than 0, I believe to a -3 degree angle. So the adjustment parts here are excellent. The dust collection system, this is the first miter saw that I've used that the actual dust bag gets full. Now that's excellent, and the angle of it's perfect. In fact, I was talking to John about it. He's like, wow, well, that's the most economical thing for collection. Now with the mobile unit here, what I found is after we cut it, eventually this bag was full. We threw it in the truck and went to the next job site. Well, as you see at this angle, the sawdust will also trickle back down and collect down here. Not a big deal. It was one of those things that kind of surprised me because most of these bags don't collect much. This one seemed to collect quite a bit, and as we stored it and moved it around, and we didn't clean this out, this continued to leak a little bit of sawdust. By far not an issue, but I thought it was kind of humorous that this actually was designed and worked well. Storing this saw and putting it into storage position, very simple. The detents are here. There's a little lock on the slider in the back. The sliding system is excellent. It's very smooth, very easy to use. Battery positioning out back doesn't get in the way. The handle, everything's there. The safety switch that's on the trigger is a simple, you just push it over and it's easy to do. Right-handers, not an issue. Left-handers isn't an issue either, but it seems like it flips the wrong way for a left-handed person. My dad, who's left-handed, was using it for quite a while, and he got used to it after about 6 cuts, but the first 6, he wanted to push the safety the other way. But it's a very nice little trigger safety, works well. The LED light, if you want to use this to shine down, like most saws have lasers, or some saws have lasers. I don't like the lasers, I don't use them. I always just put the blade down on the wood, see where I'm gonna cut. That way I know exactly what side's getting cut for what line, and things just work out better for me not having to rely on it. You can't see lasers outdoors, and with this LED light when you're inside, the shadow line is excellent. But if you even have the garage door open or you're outside, the shadow line for us didn't even show up. So we got used to, or just old school, we used the blade, but the shadow line inside was pretty nice. So in a complete package, considering that you do have onboard tools here, if you want to change the blade, this was actually a very, very impressive saw. We loved using it, and I'm going to continue to try to use this as my main saw. One of the other things that we really noticed is how well the blade cut with the battery. Now, this blade actually has a picture of this saw on it. So the blade was actually meant for this saw, and it has a thin kerf. It's a 40-tooth carbide. It cut well through hardwood. It cut excellent through the framing lumber that we had, and even treated. So things really worked well with this saw, and I think if you want to buy this either for the job site to use anywhere outside in construction, or if you're going to buy this as your single miter saw in your shop, I think you will find that you will be very impressed with it and it'll work well. Just remember, it is a 7 1/4 inch, so you're not going to go out and cut 4x4s or anything like that, but it does have its limitations, but it is a very impressive, very accurate, very well cutting saw. We'll have more information on our blog with more specifics, more pictures. We're going to continue to use this saw as our main miter saw. So leave your comments in the bottom. Tell us what you think about it. If you have questions or if you've purchased this saw and are using it, tell us about it. We want to hear about it. Let's communicate with each other. Stop by our forum at WorkshopAddict.com. We also have basically a tool section, woodworking, metal fabrication, and home improvement sections there. We can talk about how we'd use this in different areas. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope you have a great day.